He laughed at the poor janitor cleaning the floor. Little did he know he was humiliating the company's billionaire founder, working undercover. This isn't just a story about a secret identity, it's about the moment one man's cruelty collided with a woman's unexpected kindness, triggering a plot twist that would set a life-changing story in motion. Have you ever lost faith in humanity, feeling like kindness has become a weakness? In a world that often rewards arrogance, this story is a powerful reminder that a person's true value isn't found in their job title, but in their character. Get ready to meet Clyde Duncan, the undercover founder on a mission to find his company's soul, and Lauren Ford, the janitor who had no idea her simple act of goodness was part of a billionaire's kindness test. Their journey is an emotional roller coaster, a true love story filled with drama. What unfolds is so much more than a typical rich man-poor woman romance. It's a web of humiliation, a search for redemption, and a shocking revenge that exposes people's true colors when they think no one important is watching. Stay with us to witness how one small moment can forge a life-changing destiny. Like this video if you believe in the power of kindness, comment with one word that describes the manager's attitude, share this with someone who needs a dose of hope, and subscribe so you don't miss how this heart-touching story unfolds. It all kicked off on a Tuesday that felt just like any other. The air in the corporate lobby of Innovate Dynamics buzzed with ambition and the scent of expensive coffee, a world away from the quiet dignity of the service corridors. It was there that Clyde Duncan, the company's enigmatic billionaire founder, was living his double life as a simple janitor. This whole undercover boss charade was his last-ditch effort to find a shred of honesty in the empire he'd built, a real-life kindness test. He felt more like a poor janitor than a magnate, and that was the point. Things took a sharp turn when Mark, a slick, overconfident manager with a pristine suit and a soul to match, decided to make an example of someone. He chose Clyde. Spilling his coffee deliberately, he unleashed a tirade, humiliating the new guy for his supposed clumsiness. The venom in his voice was shocking, a raw display of power for an audience of smirking executives. For Clyde, the undercover founder, this was just another Tuesday, another disappointing glimpse into his company's culture. But then, something unexpected happened. A soft voice cut through the tension. It was an accident. I can get that. It was Lauren Ford, another janitor, her hands already reaching for a cloth. She didn't have to intervene, it wasn't her mess, it wasn't her fight. Yet, her simple act of defense was immediate and instinctual. It was a small gesture, but in that moment of drama, it felt like a monumental act of courage, a flicker of light in a very dark place. This wasn't part of Clyde's experiment. He had planned to observe, to be a ghost in the machine, not to be the subject of such blatant disrespect. But Lauren's intervention, her quiet defiance in the face of petty tyranny, was a variable he hadn't accounted for. It was a heart-touching moment that resonated deeper than any profit margin. This wasn't about business anymore, a life-changing story had just been set into motion, all because of a spilled cup of coffee and one woman's decency. The manager, Mark, scoffed and walked away, leaving Lauren to help the man she knew only as Clyde. She offered him a small, weary smile, a silent acknowledgement of the injustice they both faced daily. This quiet moment of solidarity between them was the first thread in a tapestry of destiny none of them could yet see. Clyde Duncan, the billionaire, felt a stirring of something he hadn't felt in years, genuine human connection, untainted by wealth or status. He thanked her, his voice a little rough with emotion he wasn't expecting to feel. He was supposed to be detached, an observer in his own grand social experiment. But Lauren Ford had just crashed through his defenses without even trying. This simple interaction was the beginning of an unlikely romance, a classic rich man poor woman tale, but with stakes that were intensely real and personal. The plot twist wasn't just for the company, it was for his own jaded heart. As he watched her walk away to continue her duties, Clyde realized his mission had fundamentally changed. It was no longer just about diagnosing the problems within his company. Now, it was about understanding the source of that unexpected kindness he had just witnessed. He had to know more about the woman who defended a poor janitor, unaware that she was speaking up for a billionaire with a secret identity. Lauren Ford's life was a study in quiet consistency. She found a simple, unpretentious pride in her work, in the gleam of a polished floor and the neatness of a well-kept space. To her, every person, from the CEO she never saw to the new janitor she'd just defended, deserved a baseline of respect. It was a simple philosophy, but it was the bedrock of her existence. She moved through the halls of Innovate Dynamics, a ghost of a different kind, unnoticed but essential. She was completely unaware that she was being watched, that her every move was now under the careful scrutiny of a very powerful man. The man she knew as Clyde, the quiet new janitor, was in fact the undercover founder, observing her with an intensity he usually reserved for multi-billion-dollar acquisitions. He saw the way she greeted the security guards by name and the gentle way she handled the plants in the lobby. These weren't things you could list on a resume, but they told a powerful story. Her world was small but filled with a richness that Clyde's boardroom lacked. It was a life built on integrity, not influence. While executives above her schemed and plotted for power, Lauren's biggest drama was ensuring she had enough cleaning solution for the week. She hummed softly as she worked, a tune of contentment that felt both alien and incredibly alluring to the billionaire living a lie just a few feet away. This was the authentic soul he had been searching for. Clyde saw in her a stark contrast to the greed and cynicism that had become his daily reality. He watched as she found a lost earring and immediately took it to the lost and found, a small act that spoke volumes. In his world, people took what they could get. Lauren, however, operated on a different frequency. This wasn't just a love story beginning to brew, it was a profound lesson in character unfolding before the eyes of a man who thought he'd seen it all. He started to orchestrate accidental run-ins, just to be near that quiet strength. He'd ask her about her day, and she would answer with a genuine warmth that was both disarming and heart-touching. She spoke of her simple dreams, of wanting to take a small vacation to see the ocean, of her pride in her spotless work record.
To her, he was just Clyde, a fellow poor janitor she was being kind to. To him, she was a revelation. Lauren, for her part, simply saw a new co-worker who seemed a bit lost and lonely. She treated Clyde with the same gentle respect she gave everyone, never suspecting his secret identity. Her kindness wasn't a performance, it was who she was. She had no idea that her simple, decent life was becoming the central focus of a billionaire's world, a life-changing event that was approaching like a silent, distant storm, promising both chaos and redemption. And so, the strange, silent observation continued. The powerful man, disguised in the clothes of the powerless, found himself mesmerized by the one person who sought no power at all. He was the undercover boss, but he was quickly realizing that he was the one being schooled. Lauren Ford was a real deal, and her simple, unassuming existence was about to become the catalyst for a shocking corporate shakeup. Clyde Duncan hadn't always been this cynical. He had built Innovate Dynamics from the ground up, fueled by a dream of creating something that mattered. But somewhere along the way, the dream had been co-opted by boardroom politics and naked ambition. He saw betrayal and greed in the eyes of the very people he had mentored. The company had his name on it, but he no longer recognized it hard. That's what drove him to this extreme measure. This whole undercover boss scheme was born of desperation. He needed to find out if the integrity he had founded the company on was completely dead or just buried under layers of corporate sludge. He had to shed his identity as a billionaire and become invisible. As a poor janitor, he could move through the veins of his own creation, listening to the whispers, seeing the unfiltered truth of his empire. It was a lonely, disillusioning mission. Initially, Lauren Ford was just another data point in his secret social experiment. He saw her name on the roster, noted her long tenure and flawless record, and filed her away as janitorial staff reliable. He was looking for rot for the source of decay. He wasn't looking for heroes. In his experience, heroes were a fantasy. He certainly didn't expect to find one cleaning windows on the third floor. He was a scientist in his own lab, and he intended to remain detached. But his detachment began to crumble with every quiet act of integrity he witnessed. He was jaded, yes, but not blind. He saw the difference between employees who performed for an audience and those who, like Lauren, were simply good people. Even when no one was watching, This kindness test was yielding unexpected results. The most profound data wasn't coming from the executives, but from the woman with the mop and bucket. This journey was forcing him to confront a difficult truth. Perhaps the problem wasn't just his company, but himself. He had become so insulated by his wealth, so accustomed to suspicion, that he had forgotten what genuine human goodness looked like. This rich man, poor woman dynamic was more than just a disguise. It was a mirror reflecting his own lost humanity. The drama he was witnessing was deeply emotional and personal. He began to see his quest not as a corporate audit, but as a path to his own potential redemption. To save his company, he first had to rediscover what it was supposed to stand for. He had to remember the man he was before he became a billionaire. Lauren wasn't just another employee anymore. She was becoming his guide, an unwitting mentor in the very principles he was supposed to champion. And so the experiment deepened. Clyde Duncan, the undercover founder, continued his work, his hands busy with menial tasks, but his mind whirring with life-changing revelations. He had come looking for the worst in his company, but he had stumbled upon its very best. And he knew, with a certainty that shook him to his core, that he had protected at all costs, no matter the plot twist that lay ahead. The coffee break was a daily ritual, a 10-minute window where the corporate hierarchy was on full display. The executives gathered in their own circles, their laughter sharp and exclusive, while the service staff kept a respectful distance. It was a microcosm of the company's culture, and Clyde was always watching. On this particular day, he was watching Lauren as she refilled the sugar dispensers, her movements efficient and graceful. Suddenly, a notoriously cruel executive, known for her impatience, brushed past Lauren with a huff. In a flash of arrogance and carelessness, she spilled her steaming hot latte all over Lauren's clean uniform and the floor. "Look at this mess." The executive snapped, gesturing at the puddle as if Lauren had magically summoned it. "Clean this up. Now." The injustice of it was breathtaking. She blamed Lauren, humiliated her without a second thought. Clyde's blood boiled. His first instinct was to step in, to reveal his secret identity right then and there and bring the hammer down on this petty tyrant. But he held back, his jaw tight. This was part of the test. He needed to see. He watched Lauren, his heart aching for her, expecting to see tears of frustration or a flash of anger. But he saw neither. This moment would become a pivotal scene in their unfolding love story. Instead, Lauren Ford simply took a deep breath, her face a mask of calm composure. Without a single word of complaint or defense, she picked up a cloth and began to clean the floor. She then tended to her stained uniform with a quiet dignity that was more powerful than any angry retort could have been. Her poise under fire, her refusal to be dragged down to that level of ugliness, left a deep and lasting impression on the billionaire watching from the corner. Her reaction was a shocking display of grace. In a world where everyone was quick to blame, to shout, to claim victimhood, she simply absorbed the unfairness and carried on. It was a heart-touching testament to her character. Clyde realized he was witnessing a form of strength he had never encountered in the boardroom. It was a strength of true integrity, something that couldn't be bought or leveraged. It was simply who she was. This wasn't just about a spilled latte anymore. It was a life-changing moment for Clyde. He saw with absolute clarity the kind of person Lauren was. She possessed a quiet resilience that his company desperately needed, a moral compass that pointed true north regardless of the storms around her. He wasn't just intrigued anymore, he was in complete and utter awe of this unassuming woman. As the executive stalked off, Lauren finished cleaning, her movements never betraying the sting of the humiliation she must have felt. She caught Clyde's eye and gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shrug, as if to say, "What can you do?" In that shared glance, a silent, understanding passed between the poor janitor and the undercover founder. An emotional connection was forged, one that would soon challenge the very foundations of his empire and his heart. Clyde knew he needed to escalate his experiment. Observing passive kindness was one thing, but he needed to see what Lauren would do when faced with a real moral dilemma. He devised a new, more direct kindness test, one that would pit her integrity against a significant temptation. It felt a little like entrapment, a bit of drama he had to create, but the stakes were too high to leave anything to chance. He had to be absolutely sure. So He orchestrated the next scene in this strange romance. In a busy hallway, he knew Lauren would be cleaning next. He accidentally let his wallet slip from his pocket. It wasn't his real wallet, of course, but a prop. It was thick with cash hundreds of dollars, enough to represent a life-changing sum for someone on a janitor's salary. He then retreated to a discreet vantage point, his heart pounding with anticipation. Would this be the moment his faith was shattered? He watched from a distance as Lauren, pushing her cart, spotted the wallet on the floor. She paused, looking around to see if anyone had dropped it. The hallway was momentarily empty. This was her chance. No one was watching. No one would ever know. Clyde held his breath, feeling a tension he hadn't felt since his first big business deal. What would she do? It's a question worth asking yourself, be honest. What would you do in her shoes? For a moment that stretched into an eternity, she just looked at it. Clyde could see the internal calculus, the flicker of temptation that would cross anyone's mind. That money could solve so many problems, fix her car, pay off a debt, maybe even fund that dream trip to the ocean. But then, as quickly as a thought might have appeared, her expression settled into one of resolve. She bent down, picked up the wallet, and without even opening it, turned and walked directly toward the security office. A wave of profound relief and admiration washed over Clyde. She hadn't hesitated. She hadn't peeked. She had ignored the temptation and immediately done the right thing. It was a simple act, but it was a definitive proof he had been searching for. Her integrity wasn't a show, it was woven into the very fiber of her being. This poor woman was richer in character than any of the executives in his boardroom. This wasn't just about passing a test. It was a shocking confirmation that true, unshakable honesty still existed in his company. It existed in the heart of Lauren Ford. His feelings for her deepened in that moment, evolving from admiration into something much closer to reverence. This was more than a rich man, poor woman story. It was a tale of the billionaire finding a moral compass in the most unexpected person. When she emerged from the security office, her face was clear, her conscience untroubled. She went right back to her cart and continued her work as if nothing had happened. But for the undercover founder watching her, everything had happened. He had found the true heart of his company. Now, his mission shifted once again from testing her to figuring out how to reward her, how to elevate her, and perhaps how to win her heart. Her destiny was about to change. In any workplace, integrity like Lauren's can often inspire jealousy in those who lack it. A co-worker, a man named Gary who was known for cutting corners, began to resent the quiet praise Lauren received from the floor supervisors. He saw her meticulous nature not as an asset, but as a silent judgment on his own lazy work. This simmering resentment was a perfect ingredient for a new kind of drama, one that would test Lauren in a completely different way. Feeling threatened and petty, Gary decided to engage in a bit of sabotage. His plan was simple and cruel to make Lauren look incompetent. During one of her shifts, he secretly undid some of her work, smudging the windows she had just polished and leaving a hidden mess in a conference room he knew she was responsible for. He wanted to see her flustered, to see her perfect record tarnished. It was a petty act of revenge for a crime she had never committed. Clyde, ever watchful, noticed Gary's suspicious behavior. His instincts, honed by years of navigating corporate backstabbing, screamed that something was wrong. He kept a close eye, his role as the undercover boss allowing him to see these insidious plots unfold in real time. He was about to intervene, but he stopped himself. He needed to see how Lauren would handle this. Would she break under the unfair pressure, or would her character shine through once again? As expected, when the supervisor did a spot check, he pointed out the missed spots to Lauren. She looked confused for a moment, a flicker of self-doubt in her eyes. She knew she had cleaned that area, but instead of getting defensive or making excuses, she simply apologized and promised to fix immediately. There was no complaint, only a quiet determination to meet the standard she set for herself, even when faced with a shocking and inexplicable failure. This is where her meticulous nature became her superpower. As she went back to clean the area, her sharp eyes caught the inconsistencies in the nature of the smudges, the type of debris left behind. It didn't match a simple oversight. Her mind, so attuned to the details of her work, allowed her to discover and identify the sabotage. She realized what had happened. This wasn't her mistake. It was a deliberate act. This plot twist was all thanks to her own diligence. Instead of marching to the supervisor and accusing Gary, which would have been her word against his, she handled it with quiet intelligence. She thoroughly documented her findings, cleaned the mess perfectly, and then requested a meeting with her supervisor, calmly presenting the evidence of what had occurred. She didn't do it for revenge, but to protect the integrity of her work. To Clyde, this was another life-changing display of her character. Her ability to not only fix the problem, but to uncover the truth without losing her composure further proved her immense value. She wasn't just a worker, she was a problem solver with an unshakable moral core. Clyde's admiration for her skyrocketed. He knew then that she didn't just belong in his company, she was the kind of person who should be leading it. The idea for her redemption and elevation began to take solid form in his mind. The dynamic between them began to shift. Clyde, the undercover founder, was no longer content to just observe Lauren from a distance. The wall of his experiment began to dissolve, replaced by a genuine, human desire to simply talk to her, to understand the person behind the quiet dignity. He started seeking out conversations, using their shared status as the invisible staff to create moments of connection during their breaks. He would ask about her life, not as a billionaire gathering data, but as a man genuinely curious about her dreams and struggles. And Lauren, seeing him as a fellow poor janitor, opened up in a way she never would have with an executive. She spoke of her dream of one day opening a small community library, a place where kids could fall in love with stories. She spoke of the challenges of making ends meet, yet never with a trace of self-pity. Clyde found himself completely captivated. In the boardroom, conversations were a chess match, every word a calculated move. But with Lauren, it was different. It was real. He was drawn to her unwavering optimism, a light that refused to be extinguished by the hardships of her life. He was falling for her authenticity, a quality more rare and valuable than any stock in his portfolio. This was the start of their true love story. Their conversations became the highlight of his day. He would find himself smiling long after they parted ways, the echo of her gentle laughter a stark contrast to the harsh realities of his corporate life. He was living a secret identity, but paradoxically, he felt more like his true self with her than he had in years. This emotional connection was a plot twist in his own life, a life-changing development he never anticipated. He started sharing bits of his own fabricated struggles, creating a backstory for Clyde the janitor. He spoke of feeling lost, of wanting to find a purpose. In a deeply ironic turn, Lauren would offer him words of encouragement, her simple wisdom cutting through his complex problems. Everyone has value, she told him once. You just have to find a place where it's appreciated. Her heart-touching advice resonated with the billionaire in a way she could never imagine. He was falling in love. It was a terrifying and exhilarating realization. This wasn't part of the plan. His undercover boss mission was supposed to be sterile, objective, but his feelings for Lauren were anything but. This rich man, poor woman romance was no longer a potential storyline. It was his reality. The drama was no longer just corporate. It was deeply, intensely personal. He knew that the longer he kept up the charade, the more complicated things would become. Revealing his identity would be a shocking betrayal of the trust she had placed in him, in Clyde. Yet he couldn't stop. He was drawn to her like a moth to a flame, knowing that the truth would inevitably cause a fire, but hoping that what emerged from the ashes would be a shared destiny and a chance at true love. The campaign of petty tyranny waged by Mark, the arrogant manager, was far from over. Having been subtly rebuffed by Lauren's kindness during the first incident with Clyde, Mark now saw her as a target. He couldn't stand her quiet dignity. It felt like a judgment on his own hollow existence. He decided he needed to put her back in her place, to remind everyone of the hierarchy that he held so dear. This was a stage for more drama. He chose his moment carefully, in a crowded break room filled with a mix of office and support staff. He began by loudly criticizing the cleanliness of a nearby table, his voice dripping with condescension, making sure everyone knew he was talking about Lauren's work. He tried to belittle her, to paint her as incompetent in front of her peers, a public humiliation designed to shatter her confidence. The air grew thick with tension. Clyde was there, of course, sipping a cup of coffee in the corner, his fists clenched under the table. This was it, the ultimate test. How would she react to a direct, public attack on her professionalism? Had seen her handle accidents and sabotage with grace, but this was a personal assault. He braced himself for the worst, his admiration for her hanging in the balance. This was a pivotal moment in their unconventional romance. But Lauren Ford did not crumble. She didn't cry or yell. She simply turned to face Mark, her expression calm but firm, and waited for him to finish his tirade. When he was done, a quiet intelligence shone in her eyes. "I understand your concern for cleanliness, Mark," she said, her voice even and clear. "Perhaps you could show me exactly where my work doesn't meet your standards, so I can be sure to correct it." The response was brilliant. It was polite, professional, and it completely disarmed him. By refusing to engage with his anger and instead focusing on the work, she turned his attack back on him, subtly exposing him as a bully, not a manager. A few of the onlookers tried to hide their smiles. Mark was left sputtering, unable to respond without looking even more foolish. He had been outplayed, not with power, but with sheer class. Clyde's heart swelled with a feeling he could only describe as pure pride. His admiration for her was now cemented in stone. She wasn't just kind and honest, she was strong, intelligent, and more capable of leadership than the man who was trying to humiliate her. This was no longer just a kindness test, it was a leadership test, and she was passing with flying colors. If this moment were a video, you'd have to hit like purely as a sign of respect for her courage. Mark, red-faced and furious at being so elegantly shut down, stalked out of the room. He had intended to make Lauren look small, but had only succeeded in diminishing himself. For Clyde, the undercover founder, this was the final piece of the puzzle. Lauren Ford wasn't just the heart of his company, she was its future. And he would stop at nothing to ensure she got the destiny she deserved, even if it meant a shocking revenge on those who stood in her way. Mark's public humiliation was a wound to his fragile ego, and like a cornered animal, he became dangerously vindictive. He felt threatened by Lauren's growing favor among the staff, and couldn't stand the quiet respect she commanded. In his twisted mind, her quiet competence was a direct challenge to his authority. He decided that if he couldn't break her spirit, he would destroy her reputation entirely. The drama was about to escalate into something far more sinister. His plan was a new level of cruel. He would accuse her of something no one could defend: theft. It was a fireable offense, a permanent stain on her record. He waited for the perfect opportunity, a moment when he knew the security cameras wouldn't catch him. Late one evening, he planted evidence in her locker, a few valuable pieces of company property, small electronics that had been reported missing weeks earlier. It was a cold, calculated act of revenge. The trap was set. The next morning, Mark made a great show of reporting the theft to upper management, feigning concern while suggesting that a search of the service staff's lockers might be in order. He specifically mentioned seeing Lauren near the storage area where the items were kept. He was building an irrefutable case, a web of lies designed to ensure her complete and utter downfall. This was the ultimate plot twist, born of pure malice. Clyde got wind of the investigation through the corporate grapevine. He still secretly monitored. A cold dread washed over him. He knew, with absolute certainty, that Lauren was innocent, but he also knew how corporate justice worked. The evidence, though planted, would look damning. This was a false defeat, the moment in his undercover mission where everything was about to go horribly, terribly wrong. He had underestimated the depths of Mark's wickedness. He felt a surge of panic. His entire undercover boss experiment, this quest for truth and redemption, was about to cause the ruin of the one truly good person he had found. He was caught in a terrible bind. He could intervene now, reveal his secret identity, and stop the whole charade. But doing so would be premature. He wouldn't have enough proof to expose the full extent of the company's rot, and Mark might just slip through the cracks. The weight of his dual identity pressed down on him. As Clyde the billionaire, he could end this with a single phone call. But as Clyde the poor janitor, he was powerless, just another face in the crowd. He had to let the trap spring. He had to watch as the woman he was falling in love with was led into an ambush from which there seemed to be no escape. The love story was careening toward a tragic, emotional cliffhanger. This was the darkest turn in his journey. The kindness test had backfired, creating a monster. He had wanted to observe the soul of his company, and now he was about to watch as that soul was systematically and unjustly crushed. The stage was set for a heartbreaking spectacle, and the undercover founder was forced to be a member of the audience. The call came over security radio, cold and impersonal. Security was to escort Lauren forward to her locker, where a manager and a supervisor were waiting. Lauren, completely oblivious, complied with confused but polite smile, assuming it was a routine check. The sight of Mark's triumphant smirk when she arrived should have been her first warning. The dread in the air was palpable. They opened her locker, and there, nestled among her personal belongings, was the evidence: the stolen electronics. Lauren's face went white with shock. She stared at the items, her mind unable to process what she was seeing. She stammered, tried to explain that she had no idea how they got there, but her words were drowned out by the cold, procedural tone of the security guard reading her rights. Believing the irrefutable evidence placed before them, the supervisor had no choice. The company policy was clear. Lauren was publicly fired on the spot. The words termination for cause echoed in the hallway, each one a hammer blow to her live's work. Employees started to gather, their whispers a chorus of judgment. She was humiliated in the most profound way imaginable, her flawless reputation shattered in an instant. She was escorted from the building like a common criminal. Her pleas of innocence were ignored, dismissed as the predictable lies of a thief. As she walked past her co-workers, she saw not sympathy, but suspicion and disappointment in their eyes. In a matter of minutes, her simple, honorable life had been turned into a nightmare. She was heartbroken, her spirit crushed, left questioning the value of her own integrity. Had it all been for nothing? For anyone watching, the scene is devastating. What single word would you use to describe how you're feeling right now watching this injustice unfold? This emotional gut punch is the heart of the drama. It's the moment where all hope seems lost, a true test of faith in the idea that good things happen to good people. It felt like a final, tragic chapter in a rich man, poor woman story where the poor woman loses everything. Clyde watched it all from a distance, a silent, helpless observer. Every part of him screamed to run to her, to stop them, to reveal everything. But he couldn't. His face was a stone mask, but inside, a storm of fury and self-loathing was raging. This was his fault. His experiment, his quest for redemption, had led to this. He had caused her this incredible, life-changing pain. The guilt was a physical weight, crushing him as the security doors closed behind her, leaving her on the street with a box of her belongings and a broken heart. Clyde felt a cold, hard resolve crystallize within him. The experiment was over. The observation phase was done. Now, the revenge phase would begin. Mark had planted the seeds of Lauren's destruction, but he had unknowingly sown the seeds of his own. A shocking reckoning was coming. The silence that followed Lauren's departure was deafening. The corporate machine churned on. The whispers died down, and people went back to their desks as if the soul of the company hadn't just been unjustly ripped out and discarded on the pavement. For Clyde, this feigned normalcy was the most infuriating part. He was forced to continue his shift, mopping the very floors Lauren had walked just hours before, each movement a torment. He felt utterly powerless, a feeling the billionaire hadn't experienced in decades. He was trapped in his disguise as the poor janitor, unable to intervene without revealing his identity prematurely. To expose himself now would be to show his hand too early. Mark had won this battle, and Clyde had to let him savor the victory, no matter how much it burned. The waiting was an agony, a quiet, simmering rage building within him. His fury was immense, a white-hot anger directed not just at Mark, but at himself. He, Clyde Duncan, the undercover founder, had designed this experiment to find and reward integrity. Instead, it had provided the perfect stage for malice to triumph. His brilliant plan had backfired in the most spectacular and heart-touching way, causing immense pain to the one person he had come to admire, the one person he was falling in love with. He pictured Lauren, alone in her small apartment, her world turned upside down. He imagined her despair, her confusion, her loss of faith. He had wanted to be her unseen guardian, her secret benefactor. Instead, he had become the architect of her misery. The guilt was a poison, seeping into every corner of his being. This wasn't a romance, it was a tragedy of his own making, and the weight of that knowledge was almost unbearable. That night, he didn't go back to his mansion. He stayed in the small, bare apartment he had rented for his undercover life, the one that mirrored Lauren's own humble existence. He sat in the dark, replaying the day's events over and over. This was the ultimate low point, the valley of his journey. He had to let her suffer in the short term to ensure her ultimate, life-changing vindication. But damn, it was hard. But as the hours ticked by, his guilt and fury began to forge themselves into something else, a weapon. He now had everything he needed. He had seen the best and the worst of his company. He had found his hero and his villain. The drama had reached its peak, and the plot twist he was about to unleash would not just correct a wrong, it would reshape the entire destiny of Innovate Dynamics. He spent the rest of the night planning. Every detail had to be perfect. The revenge had to be absolute, the redemption total. There would be no ambiguity, no room for error. The next morning, the company wouldn't be gossiping about a fired janitor. They would be reeling from a shocking revelation that would be talked about for years. The undercover boss was about to come out of the shadows. The next morning, an urgent company-wide email was sent out. Emergency all-hands meeting, 9 a.m. sharp. Auditorium. Attendance is mandatory. The message was curt, sent from the highest levels of the corporation, and it sent a ripple of anxiety through every department. Meetings like this were rare and never signified good news. Speculation ran rampant. Was there a merger? Layoffs? A corporate scandal? The entire company, from the mailroom clerks to the suite executives, filed into a massive auditorium. Mark found a prime seat near the front, a smug look on his face. He assumed the meeting was about cracking down on internal theft, a chance for him to be publicly lauded for his vigilance. He felt untouchable, a rising star who had efficiently dealt with a problem employee. He had no idea he was a dead man walking. The lights dimmed. The CEO, a man Clyde had appointed years ago, walked on stage. He looked nervous. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice tense. "We are here today because of a critical issue that goes to the very heart of our company's values. But first, I want to introduce someone you all need to meet." The suspense was thick enough to cut with a knife. Who could it possibly be? And then, from the side of the stage, a figure emerged. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a simple, gray janitor's uniform. It was Clyde. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. What was the new janitor doing on stage? Was this some kind of joke? Mark stared in disbelief, a flicker of unease starting to penetrate his arrogance. This was a shocking and bizarre turn of events. The janitor walked to the center of the stage, took the microphone, and stood there for a moment, looking out at the sea of faces. He looked at the executives in the front row, at the managers like Mark, at the regular employees in the back. Then he spoke, his voice calm, but carrying authority that seemed utterly out of place with his uniform. "Good morning," he said. "For the last few months, many of you have known me as Clyde, the janitor." He paused, letting the silence hang in the air. "But that is not who I am. My name is Clyde Duncan, and I founded this company." The shock that ripped through the auditorium was a physical force, a collective gasp of thousands of people realizing the truth at once. The poor janitor was the billionaire. The undercover boss was revealing his secret identity. For Mark, the world simply stopped spinning. The janitor was the founder. The man he had humiliated, belittled, and framed was the single most powerful person in the entire building. The color drained from Mark's face as the full, horrifying reality of his actions crashed down upon him. The drama had just reached its life-changing climax, and the plot twist was more devastating than anyone could have ever imagined. The man head destroyed was about to return the favor. With the entire company still reeling from the shocking revelation of his secret identity, Clyde Duncan remained perfectly calm. He gave a slight nod to the tech booth at the back of the auditorium. "I came to work here, in disguise," he explained, his voice now booming with quiet power, "because I felt we were losing our way. I wanted to see if the values I built this company on still meant anything. He then gestured to the massive screen behind him. Let's see what I found. The screen flickered to life. The audience gasped. It was hidden camera footage, crisp and clear. The first clip showed the initial incident, with Mark arrogantly and deliberately spilling his coffee on the man he thought was a poor janitor. It then showed Lauren Ford's simple, kind intervention. The footage was raw and undeniable, a secret window into the everyday drama of the company. Mark began to sweat profusely. Clip after clip played, each one a nail in Mark's coffin. The screen showed the cruel executive berating Lauren over the spilled latte. It showed Lauren finding the wallet thick with cash and immediately, without hesitation, turning it into security. It showed Gary sabotaging her work and her intelligent, calm response. With everyone watching, Clyde was building a case for Lauren's character, a heart-touching highlight reel of her integrity. Then came the final, damning footage. A hidden camera, placed by Clyde's own private security team after he suspected foul play, showed the hallway outside the lockers. It captured Mark, looking around nervously before quickly planting the stolen electronics in Lauren's locker. The truth was there for everyone to see in high definition. A wave of outrage swept through the crowd. Her innocence was proven. Mark's entire deceitful plot was exposed. The irrefutable evidence was shown to be a calculated, malicious lie. The footage laid his character bare, revealing him to be not just a bully, but a conniving snake willing to ruin an innocent woman's life for his own petty ego. He was publicly humiliated, the same way he had tried to humiliate Lauren and Clyde, but 1,000 times worse. This was not just justice, it was a perfectly executed revenge. The emotional weight of the evidence was overwhelming. Lauren wasn't a thief, she was a victim. She wasn't incompetent, she was the most honorable person in the room. The video didn't just exonerate her, it canonized her. Clyde let the final, damning image of Mark slinking away from the locker hang on the screen, the silence in the auditorium a testament to the shocking, undeniable truth. Clyde, the undercover founder, had done more than just clear a name. He had held up a mirror to the entire company, forcing them to see the poison that had been allowed to fester within their ranks. The footage didn't just prove Lauren's innocence, it proved her immense worth. The plot twist was complete. The hero had been revealed, and the villain had been unmasked in the most public and permanent way possible. As the damning footage faded to black, a furious silence hung in the air. All eyes in the auditorium swung from the screen to Mark, who sat frozen in his chair, his face a mask of pale, sweaty horror. Clyde Duncan let the silence stretch, allowing the weight of the moment to settle on every single person in the room. He then turned his gaze directly to Mark, and his voice, when he spoke, was cold as steel. "Mark, stand up." Mark, trembling, struggled to his feet. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. "Mr. Duncan." I can explain," he stammered, but Clyde cut him off with a sharp wave of his hand. "No, you can't," Clyde said, his voice resonating with righteous anger. "You are a disgrace to this company and everything it is supposed to stand for. You are fired, effective immediately. Security, please escort Mr. Turner from the building. Now." The entire company watched as security guards descended on Mark, removing him from the auditorium. It was a swift, brutal, and utterly satisfying moment of justice. This wasn't just a firing, it was an exorcism. It was a physical removal of the cancer that Clyde had come to find. The revenge was complete, public, and absolute. There would be no second chances, no quiet resignation, only public disgrace. With Mark gone, Clyde turned back to his employees. He then delivered a powerful, emotional speech, his voice filled with a passion that no one had ever seen from their reclusive founder. For too long, he began, "We have mistaken ambition for character. We have celebrated titles instead of integrity. We have rewarded the loudest voice in the room, not the truest." That ends today. This was his declaration, the dawn of a new era for his company. "The true value of this company isn't in our stock price or our market share," he continued, his voice rising. "It lies in our people. It lies in character. It lies in the quiet dignity of doing the right thing, even when no one is looking." He paused, his eyes sweeping across the crowd. The real soul of this corporation, the very best of what we are and what we should aspire to be, is represented by Lauren Ford. Her name, spoken with such reverence by the billionaire founder, echoed through the hall. He had not only cleared her name, he had elevated it. He had transformed her from forgotten, poor janitor into the moral compass for the entire organization. It was the ultimate redemption, a life-changing validation of her quiet, steadfast goodness. The love story had found its hero, and her name was now legend. He ended his speech with a promise of a cultural shift, a return to the values of integrity, respect, and kindness. He made it clear that from that day forward, character would be the company's most valuable asset. The message was unmistakable. The era of bullies like Mark was over. The era of people like Lauren Ford had just begun, and he, Clyde Duncan, would personally oversee this destiny. Clyde didn't delegate the next most important task. He didn't send an assistant or an HR representative. He did it himself. After the meeting, he got into his own Carnoa limousine, but a simple, understated sedan, and drove to Lauren's small apartment complex. The address was modest, a world away from the lavish corporate headquarters he had just left. This journey was a final, crucial step in his mission of redemption. He knocked on her door, his heart pounding for a completely different reason now. He wasn't the powerful billionaire or the undercover founder. He was just a man, Clyde, who had caused a woman he cared for a great deal of pain, and he was there to atone for it. When she opened the door, her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She looked at him, and for a second, she just saw the janitor, her friend. Then, confusion washed over her face. "Clyde, what are you doing here?" He offered her a profound, heartfelt apology. He explained everything, his secret identity, the undercover boss experiment, the reason he couldn't intervene sooner. He told her how her kindness and integrity had been a beacon of light for him, and how his actions, however well-intentioned, had inadvertently led to her being so terribly humiliated. He took full responsibility, his voice thick with emotion and regret. It was a heart-touching and vulnerable confession. Lauren listened in stunned silence, the shocking revelations washing over her in waves. The poor janitor she had befriended was a billionaire. Her whole world had been a stage for a secret test. The mix of emotions, betrayal, confusion, vindication was overwhelming. But as she looked into Clyde's eyes, she saw not the deceit of a billionaire, but the genuine remorse of the kind man she had come to know. "I'm not just here to apologize, Lauren," he said, his voice earnest. "I'm here to offer you your job back." He paused. "But not your old job." He then told her he was creating a new, high-level executive position just for her. She would be the head of a new corporate culture and employee well-being department, with the power to implement real, life-changing policies to ensure no one was ever treated the way she had been. It was an incredible offer, a destiny she could never have dreamed of. She would go from being a janitor to a top executive in a single day. But it wasn't just about the promotion. It was the reason behind it. He wasn't giving her a handout. He was recognizing her inherent worth. He saw her, truly saw her, for the leader she unknowingly was. This was the ultimate validation, a testament to her unwavering character. She stood there, speechless, as the man who represented both the greatest drama and the greatest hope in her life waited for her answer. The rich man, poor woman dynamic was now starker than ever, but was also filled with a new kind of possibility. He wasn't just offering her a job, he was offering her a future, a chance to make a real difference, a path to a new life she so richly deserved. In that quiet doorway of her humble apartment, with the world outside still buzzing from the morning's shocking events, Clyde Duncan took the final, most terrifying step. He had offered her a job, a future, a form of redemption. But there was one more truth he had confessed, the one that had nothing to do with business. This was the real reason he was there, the heart of their unbelievable love story. "Lauren," he began, his voice softer now, stripped of all its corporate authority. "There's something else. My experiment. It started as a mission to find the soul of my company. But somewhere along the way, I found something I wasn't looking for at all." He took a small step closer, his eyes locked on hers, searching for a sign, any sign, that she might understand. The air was thick with unspoken emotion. In a grand, cathartic gesture of complete vulnerability, he laid his heart bare. "I fell in love," he said, the word simple but carrying the weight of his entire journey. "Not with an employee, not with a subject of my experiment. I fell in love with you, Lauren, with the woman who showed kindness to a poor janitor when she thought he had absolutely nothing to offer in return. I fell in love with your strength, your integrity, your heart." This was the ultimate plot twist for Lauren. The billionaire founder of her company wasn't just offering her a promotion, he was declaring his love for her. It was the stuff of fairy tales, a romance so improbable it felt like a dream. But looking at the genuine, heart-touching emotion in Clyde's eyes, she knew it was real. He hadn't fallen for an illusion. He had seen the real her when she was at her most invisible. He explained that her true worth, the quiet dignity and unshakable integrity she showed every single day, was the greatest treasure his company had ever possessed. It was more valuable than any patent, any building, any stock certificate. She was the soul he had been searching for, not just for a corporation, but for himself. He had started a kindness test and, in the end, had found his true love. This was the culmination of everything. The humiliation, the drama, the secret identity, it had all led to this life-changing moment. It was a powerful testament to the idea that destiny works in mysterious ways, forging connections in the most unlikely of circumstances. Their story wasn't a rich man, poor woman cliché, it was a profound tale of two souls recognizing each other, regardless of clothes they wore or the money they had. Lauren, her eyes now filled with tears, not of sorrow but of overwhelming joy, finally found her voice. The story wasn't over. In fact, for Clyde Duncan and Lauren Ford, it felt like it was just beginning. Their journey forward will be about building a new future together, founded on the simple, powerful truth that the greatest value always lies in a person's character. In a world so often dazzled by status and power, this story is a powerful reminder that a person's true value is measured by their character, not their title. It proves that one small act of kindness isn't just a gesture, it's a spark that can ignite a life-changing destiny and reveal the true love we all search for. If you also believe that integrity is a superpower and that kindness is the ultimate currency, then you found your community. This channel is more than just stories, it's a movement. Subscribe now and join our tribe, a place where we champion the heart and celebrate the heroes who live among us every day. Now let's make some waves. Hit the like button as a vote for kindness to spread this message across YouTube. In the comments below, tell us which single moment in Lauren's journey was the most heart-touching for you. And finally, share this video on a mission to remind at least one person that their good deeds are never, ever wasted. And your journey with us doesn't have to end here. While you wait for what's next, know that our channel is a treasure chest filled with emotional stories just like this one. Explore our older videos and uncover other unforgettable tales of revenge, redemption, and shocking plot twists. To ensure you don't miss out on the incredible stories we have yet to tell, make sure you hit that notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next emotional roller coaster we have in store for you.